I never thought my life would spiral into a mess of heartbreak and betrayal. My name is Jake, and I've been married to my wife, Amanda, for 7 years. We had what I thought was a solid relationship, good communication, shared interests, and a mutual love for adventure. But just like that, everything came crashing down. It all started with subtle changes. Amanda, who used to be a homebody, suddenly became obsessed with going out. She claimed it was to relieve stress from work. She was a graphic designer at a local agency. I supported her, encouraging her to take time for herself, but soon, the late nights out became too frequent. I'd often find myself alone at home, scrolling through Netflix while she was out, supposedly enjoying herself with friends. It didn't take long before a nagging feeling crept into my mind. I began noticing little things that raised my suspicions. Her phone, always buzzing with notifications she'd quickly dismiss. The way she'd rush to the bathroom to take a work call, or how she'd suddenly change the subject whenever I asked about her night. I'm not the jealous type, but it felt like she was hiding something, and it gnawed at me. I convinced myself I was being paranoid. After all, I trusted her, right? But trust can be a slippery slope. The turning point came one Friday night. I had planned a nice evening at home, ready to celebrate our anniversary, dinner, candles, the works, but Amanda had other plans. She texted around noon, saying she needed to work late. I felt a sinking pit in my stomach, but I shrugged it off. I could always celebrate when she returned. So I cooked dinner for one and sat down to eat. But as the hours passed and she didn't come home, my unease transformed into desperation. I decided to text her. "Hey, just checking in. Are you still at work?" Minutes turned into what felt like an eternity before she responded. "Sorry, babe, things are busy. I might stay out a bit longer, okay?" That's when I made a decision I was going to regret. I grabbed my jacket and headed out. I drove towards the trendy nightclub where Amanda had been going lately. I parked a few blocks away and walked towards the entrance, my heart racing. I had to see for myself what was happening. When I walked in, the pulsing music almost drowned out my thoughts. I scanned the crowd looking for her. I didn't recognize many faces, but I felt a strange sense of familiarity with the place. And then in the corner, I spotted her. She was laughing, no, cackling, at something the DJ had said. My heart sank deeper as I realized she was all over this guy, a tall, tattooed DJ named Blake. I stood frozen, a mix of disbelief and anger coursing through me. I watched them interact, Amanda leaning closer to him, her hand on his arm. The betrayal felt like a knife to my gut, twisting with every laugh she shared with that man. How could she do this to me? How could she reduce our marriage to a sad joke? I turned to leave before I could do something stupid. I needed to confront her, but not here, not like this. So I briskly walked back to my car, my mind racing with thoughts of betrayal and revenge. The image of Amanda wrapped in another man's arms replayed in my head. When I got home, I paced the living room, my emotions swirling like a storm. I felt a burning anger rising within me, angry at Amanda, angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. She was betraying me, and I knew I had to confront her. But I didn't want to do it out of anger. I wanted to be calculated. I wanted to make sure I was going to hurt her just as much as she had hurt me. Maybe it was time to flip the script. If she could cheat on me with this DJ, then maybe I could throw a party of my own, one that would blow her cheating escapades out of the water. I thought about how to orchestrate my own revenge, something that would not only showcase the kind of life I could lead without her, but also make her realize just what she was throwing away. The wheels in my head began to turn as I plotted my next move. I was no longer just the husband. I was a man on a mission. The next few days felt like a haze. I was consumed by a whirlwind of emotions, and every time I thought about Amanda, I felt a surge of anger. I had seen her with that DJ, and it triggered something deep within me, a need for revenge that I had never experienced before. I couldn't just sit back and let her continue living her double life while I moped around nursing a broken heart. Instead of confronting her immediately, I decided to gather evidence. I wanted to ensure I had all the ammunition necessary to make my case once I finally faced her. Over the course of that week, I became a detective, stealthily observing Amanda's strange behavior, searching for clues that would back up the gut feeling I had. It was relatively easy to keep track of her. Her phone was still a constant source of distraction, and she was often glued to it, scrolling through social media or texting with whoever was on the other end. I even started to notice a few names pop up frequently. One of them, of course, was Blake. I took screenshots of their conversations whenever I could sneak a peek. Each one felt like a knife slicing deeper into my heart. She was flirting, sending heart emojis and discussing late-night plans. The casualness of her betrayal was gut-wrenching. One evening, while she was in the shower, I did a deeper dive into her social media accounts. I had never been one for snooping, but desperate times called for desperate measures. I uncovered a thread of photos on Instagram that showed Amanda at the club with Blake and their mutual friends, looking carefree and happy. The captions were filled with inside jokes and laughter, and all I could feel was a gnawing sense of betrayal. I had sacrificed so much for our marriage, while she was out living it up and pretending like I didn't exist. The anger within me solidified into a plan. I started reaching out to old friends and acquaintances, the kind who thrived in the nightlife scene. I wanted to throw the party to end all parties, and I needed their help. I envisioned an extravagant event, one where I could reclaim my identity and show Amanda what she was missing. I wanted her to see that while she was busy carousing with another man, I could do better, and I would do it all without her. As I went through my contacts, I reconnected with a couple of friends from college who were now involved in event planning. They immediately jumped on board when I told them my idea. We brainstormed themes, venues, and guest lists. I felt a rush of excitement as we discussed music, decorations, and everything in between. I wanted this to be a spectacle, something that would leave a mark. I settled on a rooftop venue downtown, with stunning views of the city skyline. I wanted it to be glamorous, bathed in twinkling lights and the sound of infectious music. The night would be filled with laughter and dancing, and I knew it would make a statement. I could already picture Amanda's reaction when she saw the photos, knowing that her husband had moved on so effortlessly. The day of the party arrived, and I felt a mix of nerves and exhilaration. I put on my best outfit, something sharp and tailored, a look that screamed confidence. The venue was bustling with activity as we set up. My friends were there in full force, helping with last-minute details. The energy in the air was electric, and I could feel the anticipation building inside me. As guests started to trickle in, I was like a kid in a candy store. I greeted everyone with enthusiasm, mingling and laughing, all the while keeping an eye out for Amanda. She had no idea what was happening. I had texted her earlier in the day, casually inviting her out, saying I was in the mood to hit the bars with friends. The look on her face when she finally walked into the venue would be priceless. When she arrived, I caught sight of her stepping off the elevator. She looked stunning, dressed in a little black dress that hugged her figure perfectly. I noticed her pause when she saw the crowd, confusion evident on her face. I felt a surge of satisfaction knowing that she had walked right into my trap. The moment she spotted me, the shock in her eyes was palpable. I raised my glass in a toast and smiled, a devilish grin spreading across my face. As I approached her, I could see the gears turning in her head. She was trying to mask her surprise with an air of casualness, but I could see the cracks. "What's going on here?" she asked, her voice laced with feigned nonchalance. "Just a little get-together," I replied, my demeanor cool as ice. "Thought it would be nice to celebrate." Her eyes darted around the room, taking in the scene friends, laughter, music. I could see it dawning on her just how big this was. I could almost hear her thoughts racing. How could he pull this off without me? "Is that Blake?" she asked, pointing to the DJ booth where he was spinning tracks. "Yep, he's here to provide the entertainment," I replied, relishing her discomfort. "Hope you don't mind." Her face flushed, and for a moment I felt a pang of satisfaction. I was taking back control. I was no longer just the husband she could play with and discard. I was reclaiming my place in this world, and I was ready to show her what she had given up. The party was in full swing, and as the night progressed, I danced and laughed with friends, soaking in every moment. I refused to let Amanda's presence overshadow my joy. I was determined to enjoy myself, and I could see the gears turning in her head. She was trying to figure out her next move, but I was ready. Little did she know, I wasn't done with her yet. This was just the beginning of my plan. The night would be a celebration of my newfound freedom. And as I took another sip from my drink, I felt a sense of liberation wash over me. I was finally reclaiming my life. As the party unfolded, the atmosphere buzzed with lively chatter and laughter. I reveled in the energy surrounding me, dancing and enjoying the attention that was finally directed at me. It felt good to be the center of attention. My friends were cheering me on, and I could see the looks of disbelief on Amanda's face as she tried to grasp what was happening. It was as if she had walked into a different world, one where I was thriving without her. I noticed her hovering around the edges of the crowd, morphing from disbelief into irritation. She tried to engage in conversations with our mutual friends, but I could see the strain in her smile. This wasn't the way she had envisioned the night, and I was more than okay with that. In the back of my mind, I relished the thought of her discomfort and the realization that she had underestimated me. Eventually, Amanda made her way over to me, her posture stiff, betraying her attempt to maintain composure. "Jake, can we talk?" she said, her voice edged with a mix of apprehension and annoyance. "Sure," I replied, feigning innocence. "Right here at the party, or do you want to step outside?" The look on her face was a mixture of frustration and desperation. It was clear she wanted to confront me, but the setting was not ideal for her theatrics. I gestured toward a quieter corner of the rooftop, away from the pulsating music and boisterous laughter. Once we were out of earshot, Amanda crossed her arms, her expression shifting between anger and concern. "What the hell is this, Jake? You couldn't even tell me you were planning a party. You just had to throw this in my face." "Why would I? You've been busy with your work nights," I shot back, my tone icy. "I thought I'd give you a taste of what you've been missing. It's funny how quickly you forgot about me." Her face flushed, and for a moment I could see the mask of bravado slipping. "You don't understand," she stammered. "I've been stressed. You know how demanding my job is. I just needed an escape." "An escape?" I echoed incredulously. "Is that what you call it when you're out at a club with another man? Because last time I checked, that wasn't exactly stress relief, it's infidelity." Amanda scoffed, her defensiveness flaring. "You don't know the whole story, Jake. You never ask. You just sit at home while I'm working my ass off. I deserve to have some fun." "Fun?" I challenged, anger bubbling up again. "You think running around with a DJ is fun? You think I'm just going to sit here and accept that while you make a mockery of our marriage?" She opened her mouth to respond, then closed it, trying to suppress the wave of panic that crossed her features. The reality of her actions began to dawn on her, and for a brief moment I saw vulnerability. But then her demeanor hardened again. "You're being childish. You're just trying to make me feel guilty." "Childish?" I retorted, disbelief flooding my voice. "I'm trying to hold you accountable. You think you can just waltz in here, act like everything is normal, and I'll just pretend like I don't know what you're doing." Amanda took a step closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "What do you want from me, Jake? I'm sorry if I hurt you. I didn't think it was a big deal at the time." "It wasn't a big deal," I shot back, incredulous. "Your affair with Blake is a huge deal, Amanda. You didn't think about how I would feel, did you? You were too busy having fun to care." She ran a hand through her hair, her frustration evident. "I made a mistake. I thought we were in a rut." "A rut?" I interrupted, raising my voice. "You think running off with another man fixes a rut? That's your answer." "I was looking for excitement. I thought I could get away with it. I thought it wouldn't matter because we weren't connecting anymore." She spat, her emotions boiling over. With a deep breath, I tried to regain control of the situation. "You know what, Amanda? I've spent years being supportive, always putting your needs first. And in return, you decide to cheat on me. You didn't even have the decency to communicate what you were feeling. Instead, you ran into someone else's arms." Her eyes were wide, betraying her realization that she had crossed a line she couldn't uncross. "I was wrong. I'll admit that," she finally said, her voice dropping. "But can't we work through this? Can't we go back to the way things were? Do you really think it's that easy? Do you think I can just forget what you've done? I can't go back to trusting you after this." The weight of my words hung between us, and I felt my heart racing. The confrontation had stripped away any pretense. I was finally standing up for myself, and it was invigorating. Fine, Jake, if that's how you feel, then maybe we're better off apart, she yelled, her expression wild with frustration. I took a step back, surprised by her reaction. Is that what you want? Is that your way of throwing in the towel? Yes, maybe I do. I'll just go back to Blake, she shouted defiantly. My heart sank at the thought. The pain of her words was overwhelming, but I couldn't show her that. Go ahead. It won't change the fact that you betrayed me, Amanda. You made your choice. Now you have to face the consequences. With that, I turned away from her, leaving her standing there, seething. I walked back into the party, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. The festivities continued around me, but inside I felt like a storm had just erupted. I knew things would never be the same again. I had finally confronted Amanda, and I had fought back. But as I mingled with friends, my mind kept drifting back to the confrontation. The raw emotions, the pain, the rage, it all swirled within me, fueling my resolve to move forward. I could feel the excitement of the party, the laughter and the music, but a part of me still ached from the betrayal. But I would make it through. I refused to let her actions define me any longer. And as the night carried on, I felt a strange sense of clarity. I was ready to move on to the next chapter of my life, and I wasn't going to let Amanda stand in my way anymore. The party raged on, but I was no longer just a participant in my own life. I was a man on a mission. I mingled with friends, laughed, and danced, but the confrontation with Amanda lingered in my mind like a storm cloud. The initial rush of adrenaline had faded, replaced by a somber reality. Our marriage was hanging by a thread, and the future felt uncertain. As the night wore on, I caught glimpses of Amanda from the corner of my eye. She was trying to play it cool, mingling with our friends, but there was an undeniable tension in the air. The party that was supposed to celebrate our love had morphed into a battleground of emotions, and I could sense the growing divide between us. At one point, she made her way to the bar, and I watched as she ordered a drink, her expression a mix of frustration and regret. I could see her trying to engage with others, but her laughter was forced, her smiles unconvincing. It was as if she was desperately trying to mask the chaos brewing beneath the surface. Later in the evening, one of my friends, Mark, approached me, sensing my distress. "Hey man, you good? You look like you've just been through a roller coaster." "Just dealing with some stuff with Amanda," I admitted, taking a swig from my drink. "It's complicated. Complicated. She was all over that DJ earlier," Mark said, his brow furrowing. "You don't need to put up with that, it's not worth it." "I know," I replied, my voice heavy. "But it's not just about her infidelity, it's everything, the lies, the lack of communication. I thought we had something real." Mark nodded, leaning against the bar. "You deserve better, man. If she's not willing to fight for you, then maybe it's time to reconsider things." His words resonated with me. I had been so consumed by the idea of saving our marriage that I hadn't fully examined whether Amanda was worth saving. Deep down, I knew I had a choice to make. As the night continued, I found myself gravitating toward the dance floor. The music pulsed like a heartbeat, and I let it wash over me, allowing myself to lose control for a moment. I danced with abandon, surrounded by friends who were eager to lift my spirits. I felt liberated, free from the weight of Amanda's betrayal, if only temporarily. But in the back of my mind, I had a growing realization. I needed to confront her again, not just to express my feelings, but to set clear boundaries. I couldn't let her dictate the terms of our relationship any longer. A little while later, I spotted Amanda standing alone on the edge of the rooftop, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. The music softened around me, and I felt a pull to approach her. The tension between us was palpable, and I knew it was time for another conversation, one that would define our future. "Hey," I said as I stepped up beside her, trying to keep my voice steady despite the storm of emotions within me. She turned to me, her eyes filled with a mix of defiance and sadness. "What do you want, Jake?" "I want to talk about us, about this." I gestured between the two of us, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on me. "I don't want to keep pretending everything is okay when it's not." "You think I'm pretending?" Amanda snapped, her voice rising. "You think I want to be here like this? You think I enjoy feeling this way?" "No, but your actions have consequences," I replied, my voice firm. "You made a choice to cheat on me, and now we're both dealing with the fallout." I never meant for it to go this far, she cried out, her frustration spilling over. I was confused, Jake. I didn't know how to deal with everything, and then I got caught up in it. Caught up? You think that's an excuse? I challenged, the anger bubbling back to the surface. You can't just wave a magic wand and pretend it didn't happen. You hurt me, Amanda. You broke my trust. Tears welled in her eyes, and I felt a pang of sympathy, but I quickly pushed it aside. You have to understand, this isn't just about what you want. I need to decide what's best for me, too. Are you really considering leaving? She asked, her voice trembling. It's not that simple, I said, trying to keep my tone measured. But I can't keep going on like this. I deserve to be with someone who values me, who sees me as their partner, not as an afterthought. For a moment we stood in silence, the city lights twinkling around us, the noise of the party fading into the background. I could see the realization dawning on her face, the weight of her actions finally settling in. Jake, I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice breaking. I never wanted to hurt you. I wish you had thought about that before you decided to betray our marriage, I said, my heart heavy. But I can't be the only one fighting for us. If you want to make this work, you have to show me that you're willing to change. I will, she pleaded, desperation lacing her voice. I'll do anything, just please don't give up on me. Trust is earned, Amanda, I replied, my voice steady. You have to prove to me that you're serious about making things right. I need time to think about whether I can forgive you. The determination in my voice surprised me. I had finally found the strength to stand up for myself, and it felt empowering. I knew I wasn't going to be a pawn in her game anymore. I can't promise anything, I added softly. But I need to take care of myself first. With that, I turned to leave, leaving Amanda standing alone, the realization of what she had done hanging in the air like an unshakable burden. As I walked back into the party, the music swelled around me, and I felt an undeniable sense of clarity wash over me. This was my moment to reclaim my life, to carve out a future that didn't revolve around Amanda's whims. The night was still young, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next without her. I had a new journey ahead of me, and I was looking forward to taking the first steps. The days following the party became a whirlwind of emotions for me. I had stood my ground with Amanda, but I still felt the weight of the confrontation hanging over me. I needed space to process everything that had happened and to truly reflect on what I wanted moving forward. As much as I had relished in the newfound confidence of my party, the reality of our marriage was still looming large. In the days that followed, Amanda tried reaching out to me, sending texts filled with apologies and promises to change. I would glance at my phone, her messages lighting up the screen with varying levels of sincerity. I miss you, they would say. Can we talk? But I was hesitant to reply. I needed to detach myself from the emotional chaos before deciding anything, and the last thing I wanted was to fall back into the same patterns. Instead, I kept myself busy. I went out with friends, explored new hobbies, and even started exercising regularly again. I had let myself go a bit while trying to support Amanda and her hectic schedule. Now I focused on regaining my own sense of identity. I went to the gym, took up running, and even signed up for a cooking class. Cooking had always been a passion of mine, and I realized it was a way for me to reclaim joy in my life. But no matter how busy I kept myself, Amanda's presence lingered in the back of my mind. I would sometimes picture her at home, sitting alone, the weight of guilt heavy on her shoulders. I could imagine her replaying the events of that night over and over, realizing just how badly she had messed up. I felt a strange mix of anger and sympathy towards her, but it was clear that she needed to confront the consequences of her actions. Finally, after nearly a week of minimal contact, I agreed to meet Amanda for coffee. I suggested a local cafe, one I had frequented for years, hoping the familiarity would ease the tension. As I walked in, I spotted her sitting at a table in the corner, nervously tapping her fingers against the wood. The moment our eyes met, an unspoken tension filled the air. I could see the apprehension on her face, but there was also a flicker of hope. I took a deep breath and made my way over, taking my seat across from her. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Hey," she replied, her voice soft. "Thanks for meeting me." "Of course," I said, trying to maintain a neutral expression. "How have you been?" Honestly, it's been really hard, she admitted, her eyes dropping to her hands. I've had a lot of time to reflect on everything, and I'm really sorry for what I did, Jake. I never meant to hurt you. I nodded, absorbing her words. I appreciate you saying that, but it's going to take more than just words for me to believe you. You broke my trust, Amanda. I know, she said, her voice cracking. I messed up. I got caught up in everything and didn't think about how my actions would affect us, but I want to make it right. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to show you that I can change. I studied her for a moment, searching for sincerity in her eyes. What does change look like for you, Amanda? What can you actually do to fix this? I want to go to couples therapy, she said, her gaze steadying. I want us to talk about our issues, to work through the things that led me to make such a terrible choice. I want to rebuild what we had brick by brick. Her proposal caught me off guard. I hadn't expected this level of commitment from her, but I also couldn't ignore the fact that trust isn't easily rebuilt. Therapy is a good start, I replied cautiously. But it's going to take time. I need to see real effort, and I need to work on myself too. I understand, Amanda said, a small smile of relief creeping onto her face. I don't want to rush you into anything. I just want the chance to prove that I can be better. We spent the next hour discussing our past, her infidelity, and what a path forward could look like. It was a conversation filled with raw honesty, a mix of pain and hope. I learned about her insecurities and the pressures she felt at work, and she listened as I shared how her betrayal had shattered my sense of self-worth. When we parted that day, I felt a mix of relief and uncertainty. Amanda had shown a willingness to change, but my heart was still guarded. I knew that forgiveness wasn't a switch to be flipped. It would take time and effort from both of us. Days turned into weeks as we both began the process of healing. We started therapy sessions together, working through the hurt and learning better communication skills. It was uncomfortable at times, but it was also enlightening. Slowly, I began to see glimpses of the woman I had fallen in love with, the one who was eager to grow and explore life with me. But even as we made progress, there were moments that reminded me of the cracks in our foundation. There were still times when I felt a pang of jealousy or insecurity, and I could sense the burden of guilt dragging on Amanda. I knew we were on a long journey, and while it felt promising, I was cautious about fully opening my heart again. One evening, after a particularly intense therapy session, we sat in silence on the couch, the weight of the day lingering between us. Amanda finally broke the silence, her voice trembling. Jake, do you think we can really get through this? Can we come back from everything that's happened? I took a deep breath, contemplating my answer. I want to believe we can, I replied honestly. But it's going to take time. We have to be patient with each other, and we have to be willing to confront the issues head on. I'm willing to do that, she said earnestly. I'm committed to this, to us. I know I messed up, but I see now that I can't take you for granted. You deserve so much more than I gave you. I looked into her eyes, searching for sincerity. It's going to be a long road, but maybe, just maybe, we can rebuild this. Just know that I'm still healing and I need time. I understand, she replied softly, her expression earnest. And I'm here for you no matter how long it takes. As I leaned back into the couch, I felt a flicker of hope igniting within me. The road ahead was still fraught with challenges, but for the first time, I felt like we were both genuinely committed to the journey. Whether we would emerge stronger or apart remained to be seen, but I was ready to face whatever came next, one step at a time. In the end, I realized that this experience had taught me the importance of self-worth, communication, and the necessity of boundaries. It had forced me to reevaluate the dynamics of our relationship and to demand the respect I deserved. As we moved forward, I was determined to ensure that any future path would be built on honesty and mutual respect. No matter what happened, I was committed to becoming the best version of myself, whether it remained alongside Amanda or not. As the weeks turned into months, the process of healing became less of a daunting challenge and more of a shared journey. Amanda and I continued our therapy sessions, and with each passing week, we peeled back the layers of our relationship. We confronted hard truths, and while it was uncomfortable, it was necessary. I learned to express my feelings more openly, sharing my insecurities and fears without the fear of being judged. For her part, Amanda began to take accountability for her actions, acknowledging the hurt she had caused and working to make amends. She put in the effort to show me she was serious about rebuilding trust. There were still tough days, nights when I would wake up in a cold sweat, replaying the memories of betrayal in my mind. I confided in my therapist about the residual pain, and she assured me that healing was not linear. It was important to acknowledge those feelings rather than suppress them, and to communicate them to Amanda. One evening, while sitting at the kitchen table, I decided it was time to address something that had been bothering me. "Amanda, I need to talk about Blake," I said, my voice steady but tinged with apprehension. She looked up, her brow furrowing. "Okay, what do you want to say? I've been meaning to ask you about how you felt during that time. What was it about him that drew you in?" Amanda took a deep breath, her gaze drifting to the window. "I think I was looking for validation. I felt so overwhelmed with work, and the attention he gave me made me feel wanted, exciting, and alive. But I know that was no excuse. I should have come to you." I nodded, processing her words. "It's hard for me to understand how you could turn to someone else instead of talking to me when you felt that way." "I know," she replied softly. "I was wrong. I should have communicated my feelings with you instead of seeking comfort elsewhere. I've been working on my communication skills with my therapist, too. I want you to feel like you're my partner, not my fallback." Her honesty was refreshing, and while it didn't erase the past, it allowed me to see her growth. "I appreciate you saying that," I replied. "I think we both have a lot to learn about each other, and I want us to be open and honest moving forward." As the weeks continued to unfold, we found a new rhythm in our relationship. We started to spend more quality time together, rediscovering the joys of each other's company. We would go on hikes, cook together, and try out new restaurants. It was as if we were dating again, but with a deeper understanding of the stakes involved. One evening, while we were out at a local park, I surprised Amanda with a picnic set up on the grass. As we sat under the stars, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. "You know," I said, looking at her, "I never thought we would make it through this, but I'm grateful we're trying." Amanda smiled, her eyes shimmering in the moonlight. "I'm so thankful for that, too. I know I hurt you deeply, and I'll spend every day proving that I'm worthy of your trust again. I've realized just how much I love you and how important it is to prioritize our relationship." In that moment, I felt a flicker of hope that perhaps we could emerge stronger from this ordeal. I took her hand, feeling the warmth of our connection. "Let's keep building on this. Let's make sure we communicate openly and honestly, no matter how hard it is." "Absolutely," she agreed, squeezing my hand. "I want us to create a relationship where we both feel valued and secure." With that, we leaned in and shared a kiss, sealing our commitment to one another. It wasn't a perfect fairy tale ending. There would still be challenges ahead, and we would have to navigate through them together. But I felt hopeful. I had learned valuable lessons about self-worth, boundaries, and the importance of communication. The path to rebuilding trust was long and arduous, but each step we took brought us closer to a more honest and robust relationship. As I looked at Amanda, I knew that while the scars of betrayal would always remain, we had the power to write a new story, one where love and understanding took center stage. It might not always be easy, but the journey ahead felt promising, and I was ready to embrace it, side by side with the woman I still loved, ready to face whatever came next.